Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Ash again for another awesome video. Today, I wanted to talk to you about risk and how you look at risk. So let's get started. So I'm going to be sharing my screen, and I have a series of questions that I picked up from the book Cash Flow Quadrant that I want to share with you. And I added some of my own questions in there as well. So you really understand how you can look at risk and from a perspective that will put you in a better position. So let's get started. Here we go. All right, so let's see. Here we go. Okay, so you can see the page here. So Robert Kiyosaki has these questions. I think it's on page 250. I'm not sure, but it's near the end of the book there somewhere. Okay, the first question I want to ask you is, and put in the message here on the chat box or just in the chat room, if you could. Okay, and I want to hear what your answers are. So here's the first question. Do you prioritize security over freedom? Now, these are not trick questions, so really think deep before you answer them. Security over freedom. So think about it, how we are raised. You know, if you come from a background of an employee, maybe you've been working all your life and you've been always, being under a boss, you probably, prioritize security over freedom because of the fact that you've been taught that way. You know, a paycheck every 2 weeks or every week, whenever they pay you, or every month sometimes in some jobs. So security is important. I agree. Financial security is also very important for future. But here's the other thing. You're probably, as you get older in life, you start thinking about security. Yeah, but I'm only going to be in this planet for a certain number of years. So you start thinking about more freedom. I noticed that when I got into my late 40s and my early 50s, is I noticed that freedom was starting to become more important to me than security. So you pick, okay, I want to see how your mindset works. The second question is, do you avoid risk rather than to learn manage risk? So here's what I want to explain about avoiding risk. If you're driving down the street and you see a shortcut, but it says it's a bumpy road, there's going to be bad guys there or some people that can rob you. So there's a risk, but it's a shortcut though. It'll get you to your goal faster. Or do you learn to manage risk? So here's what you want to do is maybe look at the statistics before you go there, saying, hey, how often does that really happen that you get, mugged along the way, or the roads are really so bad that your car breaks down? How often does that really happen? So you learn to analyze the numbers first before you take that leap. And if the numbers are very low and you look at the reward, what would happen when you reach your destinations faster, let's say, that would put you in a position to win. So you have to learn playing to win rather than playing not to lose. Okay, and that comes to the next one question. Do you play it safe rather than to play it smart? It's kind of like you want to do both, right? I know I do. So playing it safe and playing it smart. I look at the analogy. There was a book by one of the, I forget the name of the author, but he says, you can't keep your feet on first while trying to steal second base. For those of you that are baseball fans, you know what I mean. You can't steal a base by keeping your feet on both bases, right? So playing it safe, you probably will just stay on first base until the batter hits the ball and moves you along. Playing it smart, though, if you know and you analyze that the other team's statistics on how often they get the players out, right? On second base. And if your percentage is very low and you're very fast, you probably want to go and steal the base second and therefore put your team ahead. So that's playing it smart. So playing it safe, playing it smart, yes, there's things that I believe that you should be doing both, but you should be more focused, I'd say 60 to 70% focusing on playing it smart because of the fact that life's too short just to be safe all the time, right? Let's look at the next question. Do you say to yourself, oh, I love this one. This is all mental attitude. I can't afford it. Once you look at something that you really want, now notice that I inserted that little extra dialogue. Do you say to yourself, I can't afford it on something that you really want? Rather than do you say, how can I afford this? So the thing is, I would say to that, if you don't want something, you can come up with that excuse. I can't afford it, right? People sometimes jump to that. They look at the price, they say, I can't afford it because they don't want it bad enough. They don't see the need or the desire to obtaining whatever the product or service that they want to have, right? So look at that. That's a separate type of a question because and some people want something, but their mental attitude has been so ingrained. Oh my God, this is so much. They don't look at how can I afford it, and they can't justify the price. But the other thing you have to look at, analyze is sometimes you have to look at the benefits of what you are going to be receiving if you could afford it. Is it worth it? Is the value high enough for you to let go of your cash? Let's look at the next question. Do you say to yourself, is it too expensive? Rather than what's in the short and long-term cash flow? Let me explain by that. What is the short and the long-term cash flow? Meaning, in the beginning, it might be too expensive. I'll give you an example of a loan. So in the beginning, when you borrow money, you're probably paying a high interest rate in the first few years in a mortgage. But as you pay down the principal, guess what happens? You start to generate equity into the property, right? So if you look at the short and the long term, how long you're going to be using that product or service, a house, whatever it may be. So is it too expensive? And you may ask yourself in comparison to what, right? In other words, if the benefit that you're going to receive at the end is worth it, it's going to get you what you want and you want it bad enough, okay, it's not too expensive. And the other thing is, when I learned that when you buy something cheap, you end up spending more money and more time trying to achieve the results that you were after. Okay, I'll give you an example. If you went to a mechanic and says, I can do this for like 1/10 of the price what they charge at the dealership, let's say. What happens is that, yeah, he could probably do that, fix the vehicle for you for that 1/10 of the price. However, what happens if it breaks down in 30 days, right? Then you have to go back there again, the time you lost from your job, going there or your work, whatever. And that additional cost maybe you have to cover because there weren't any guarantees when you're only paying a small amount. So sometimes in the beginning, it may cost or too much in the beginning, but in the long term, it's a cash flow that's going to come back to you in a business setting or in the benefits of a product. Let's look at the next question. This one I like. Do you diversify rather than focus? This was a little bit of a trick question for me because I would like to diversify. But in the beginning of your business, let's say you start, you want to be focused on a couple of things because if you diversify too quickly, like some people start a business, let's say a shoe store, they want to put every kind of line out there and they buy a whole bunch of different inventory. And guess what? They only sell certain lines of product or shoes in this case to the customers, and they're sitting with the rest of the inventory that they can't even ship back, so it's just gone wasted. So focusing on what your customers want, focusing on one or two niches, then once you know which one is good, then you start diversifying. It's kind of like spinning plates in a circus. If you look at the guy who spins plates in a circus, he just doesn't spin plates all at once. He starts with one and starts spinning it, boom, boom, boom. And once it starts going, then he goes to the next one. So diversification is important, but in the beginning of any venture you do, focus is even more important. Hope that makes sense. Is your dialogue, the next question, what will my friends think and my family? Or do you focus on what do you think? So when you're looking at analyzing a business opportunity or about to make an investment or about to purchase something, you think about, geez, I wonder what they're going to think. You focus on what the benefit of that product or service would mean to them first. Would that give you the opportunity to give them a benefit from that product or service? So you want to come across as from there, because remember, they maybe not have seen the benefits of that product or service, what you have, and here you are proposing to them or asking them, hey, I want to buy this or I want to invest in this, when they haven't even analyzed or looked at the numbers which you have gone through. So they're making a decision based on partial information. So limited information, you're going to get a limited answer, which is probably going to be a no, or I don't think it's a worry or it might be a scam because they don't know the full spectrum of the problem or the product or service. This is the next question I want to ask you is this one. All right, this is very important. And that is, think of this as of your money. Let's say you borrowed money and you are going to put it into two options. You could put it into a business that could generate, let's say 10,000 a month, which you know the numbers are real. You know you could do it. You checked it out. Or would you buy yourself a nice SUV? Okay. And let's say it's a great deal. You know, it's worth maybe 20% less the market value that you're getting it for. It's worth 20% more. Good idea, right? $400 a month. You'd be driving on a nice SUV, smells good, feels good, you could feel it and everything. But this is where delayed gratitude comes in. I'd rather you invest in a business, this is my opinion, because you're able to generate 10,000 a month, and in 4 or 5 months, guess what? You have $40,000, $50,000 in your bank, which you could buy the SUV outright if you wanted to. Okay. We don't recommend you do that. Just put it into another car right away, but put it into your business and let the business and the investment that you put in, let's say you invested into something that creates residual income, maybe a piece of real estate or another business. That income you would want to buy the SUV on, probably a lease, because it's tax payable, tax deferred, tax write-off for you. Okay. Hope that makes sense. Give me a thumbs up, share the video. I'll come back with some more videos like this. Make it a great day. Bye-bye.